Weekly Wednesday Warriors, welcome to another episode of the Weekly Wednesday Warrior.
Yeah.
Sponsored by Power Card Games and Comics here in relatively bright and sunny Port New York. My name is Skylar Hathaway.
I'm Chris Potter.
Alright, moving on to another capable book.
Something epic, almost entirely by Sizemon Kudrinski.
Whoa.
I'm constantly impressed by
It's
just
just-
how much he does.
It's just Simon. It's just
Oh.
Simon. I know that it's spelled weird, but it's Simon. Simon Kudranski, yeah, he's killing it. He's doing everything but lettering it. Letters by Russ Wooten.
Now,
This summary, I think, is pretty quick, just because it's a lot, but it's simple. Dude is losing, our main character, is losing his crap.
yeah.
And it's because he's trying to stifle his own creativity, and his creativity is literally like breaking loose of its prison. And so much so that the dude's imagination is running wild in daytime without any sleep or imagination or dreaming. And so the last issue, he saw a kid run into this imaginary barn. Turns out kid was him.
Yeah.
And if you look at the panel inside of the last issue, you can see the resemblance between the kid and himself. It's just that he's an adult now, so you don't have it directly
Right.
to
And
like.
seemingly a little younger than when we met him.
That's
in the
also
first couple
true. Yeah,
issues.
also true and possible. And also, I think, remember last issue we were talking about how he has that cat named Mufasa, which is
Yeah.
like a tie to a children's animation movie. I feel like the kid who ran into that barn could be the age of the kid who watched The Lion King.
Yeah.
I really think that he's doing this to himself on some level.
That would be quite clever if, like, his one tie to creativity is what does him in.
I wouldn't even
by
be su-
keeping on, like...
And another note, too, in this book, he's like, what about my cat? And, like, the dude's like, don't worry about your cat. Cat will be fine.
Yeah.
Cat might not even be real. We don't know. And that's one of the cool parts of this book, is there's a lot that kind of is left open that you're meant to be speculating on anyway.
Yeah.
So we continue on. He escapes his barn with the help of this dude who's been eyeing him down for the past 4 issues. We're going to call him Al.
Yeah.
He's an older man, similar abilities to our main character. Pulls him out of this creepy barn and tells him, dude, you are the Jesus Christ of imagination, effectively. And there's a bunch of allusions to him being like a Jesus character. He becomes a carpenter. There's a couple of like religious imagery and stuff. He even mentions in this issue, and I wrote it down because I thought it was such a cool quote. Where is it? Hold on. Bear with me, Weekly Wednesday Warriors. I wrote it down. Yeah, he said, I'm not Jesus Christ, old man. In response to, like, at the end of the thing, the old man's trying to get him to, like, walk on water, basically. Which is another allusion to Jesus Christ. So,
And eventually he literally does.
the old man tells the guy that he's what's called an epic. It's people that can access what I'm going to call, that they haven't used, the collective unconsciousness, which is something you can Google, and I highly suggest you do, because I think it's a cool theory. It's a theory that I came up myself and then found out other people had the same theory. And it's this theory that the imagination is actually a place somewhere that we have access to. Collectively have access to. And that's where we pull the things that we make up creatively from. And one of my favorite theories here are, like, some characters are just too strong that they don't die. One of those characters, the perfect example, is Thor.
Yeah.
Thor has been a theoretical created character for over 1,000
Eons.
years. So, and the character hasn't gone anywhere because it's just such a strong character from that place of creativity that it's become part of the collective unconsciousness.
And same with all the Greek myths and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
these characters who are very based in nature and elemental.
And now I have to
sources.
say, too, like Sherlock Holmes, Spider-Man,
Oh, yeah.
Batman, Superman, these are characters that are going to keep going and going and going. They're just so easily relatable. There's so much everybody. It's almost eerie how both original and familiar these characters seem as soon as you get introduced to them. So that's kind of where we're talking about in this issue. In fact, so much so that they go and travel basically through this collective unconsciousness of the island of misfit toys.
Yeah, basically.
There's a bunch of creative things that never got finished, and Al's trying to tell our main character that it's his destiny to finish these uncreated things and bring them into fruition, give them lives, make them real, make them feel better about themselves. Because on some level, even though they are imaginary, they are still somehow conscious.
Yeah. Well, everything imaginary has a conscience, I
Right.
believe.
And so, there was so much context in this issue. It really drove me outside of the whole reading of this issue. But I thought that it was there and necessary. And not only was it there and necessary, but the art's still really dope.
Yes.
And not as only is the art really dope, but I'm so used to reading manga at this time in my life that this feels like a manga. This feels like, here's what we're going to pretend this manga is for 3 issues.
And now
Lay some groundwork, tell you who the players are, and then in the 4th chapter, we're going to really lay out what we're going to do with this manga now, right? And it's being created by one guy, similar to manga and stuff. This dude is not American. So he's from a different country, so he's probably been exposed to non-American comics as well. He probably has that
probably even
sensibility.
influences we wouldn't even pick up on.
And he's drawn manga characters more or less in here already.
Yeah.
So this guy is going somewhere with this book. And although this particular issue was a bit difficult to get through, totally worth it. Because I'm really excited to see where this book goes now.
Yeah.
So I thought this was going to be a book about a kid who discovers he's got powers. Not at all, right?
No.
This is a book about a man who's effectively a Jesus Christ type, who has to deal with that in his adulthood, and has to figure out a way to like be responsible for all of these things that don't even exist. You know, bring them into fruition. You know, become some sort of like maybe like some sort of Gandhi for the world of imagination and for the real world of reality. That he can bridge the gaps and stuff. Like, it looks like this book is really going to... It's trying to become Who's Framed Roger Rabbit.
Okay. Yeah.
Which would be a strange conclusion to where this... Like, if that was the conclusion of the book, it would be strange. But it'd be cool to watch that happen.
Yeah.
So I'm so signed up. So at the end of this book, he meets his team of people that are going to help him get his goal done. They're all imaginary characters except for Al.
Yeah.
And they go through, they beat up a monster real quick who's in this land, and they beat the monster up because... part of his mission is trying to keep the bad things also from escaping imagination, causing a ruckus in the reality.
Yep.
He's got a lot of stuff pouring on him at once. Again, allusions to Jesus Christ, who went from the age of 13 to 30 and found out he was God's only chosen son and he had the whole world to save. So, kind of the same situation here. He's got a little bit of help, and after he meets his team, he's got to go on like a trial, I guess. Again, they keep throwing stuff at us in this book. You just got to keep on trucking.
Yep.
So now we got this trial. This is a trial, I think, in a way for Al to test his abilities, show our main character how capable he is to himself, who has lost his own faith in himself over the past decade or more. So it's basically like an 8-bit video game. The art is done really well. All of the panel borders, the what do you call them, the gutters, were all filled with like 8-bit designs and stuff. Really done really well. And it's a game where he has to get this shield. This is Shield of Faith, something out of like Golden Axe from the 1980s.
Yeah.
But it's all water, and so he's like, all right, I'll just swim and get the shield. He starts swimming. Shield moves farther away. So he gets out of the water, and he looks to Al, and Al's like, you're an idiot.
You have to be thinking like an epic. You're trying to do this as like a person.
Yeah, like you're an imagination-based place where you're in control. And there's also something in here where he tries to say that nobody's in control of imagination because of that creative unconsciousness. It kind of drives itself and like allows us as humans to access what it's doing on its own.
Right.
Which is where, you know, the more, I guess also the more emotionally driven to find access to the collective unconscious, the more powerful the things we can pull from there as well. And they cite a bunch of examples like Shadowhawk and Spawn and Savage Dragon, another character.
Cyberforce character.
Yeah. And so I thought those were all really good examples, and it's an Image comic, so you can pull all those for free, not having to pay anybody. And so it was a cool idea. So this is important. All of this is really important going forward. They haven't elaborated a whole lot in here, because this ends up in this game. So he's sitting there, he's trying to figure it out. Al's guiding him, but not trying to give him the answers. And he starts thinking about Jesus Christ. He's like, I'm not Jesus Christ, I can't walk on water. And the dude's like, well,
you probably can.
I'm not saying you're not Jesus Christ. And he's like, well, okay, how would I walk on water? Well, I guess I just turn this to ice.
Yeah.
So he turns it to ice, he walks over, he gets the shield, picks up the shield. There's like an Xbox like gamer score, like plus 400, kind of like little like, achievement unlocked, you know, and then the book ends right there. really solid. The only reason it's not, better than Daredevil is because I think this issue of Daredevil might be one of the best ones that have been written.
And also, it's the end.
It's
Like,
the end.
there's a lot of weight putting on Daredevil right
But
now.
this is this is one of the best wrap-up issues I've ever read in my life. So,
I'm glad to hear that. I was very excited to talk about that.
on the other hand,
Something epic is
is
building and
is
building.
doing the opposite. Yeah. So I can't judge a book in the middle of its operation against a book that's at the end of its operation here.
Mm.
So I would be judging it unfairly. I can, however, judge it up against Godzilla, and I'd say that both of these books were just as good. Maybe Something Epic's
I
a
don't
little
know.
bit better because it's one guy,
Yeah.
but this is only two guys.
No, it's true.
And
Wait, is the artist also lettering it?
okay, maybe it's three guys.
It does. That's
but,
semantics. I'm sorry. I
Russ
just was.
Wooten is also lettering it, so it just.
I like to know
just as
when
much
these guys
two
letter
guys.
themselves. I'm always impressed because it's such a different skill set
It is.
that like I can't do.
Listen, I would say that these were good because I didn't have to try that hard to concentrate on reading contextual
No,
blocks
that's the
of-
only thing I would give with
Yeah.
something epic. And again, talking about manga creators, this is a trapping of artist writers. Just walls of text, pages of text. Fucking Tagashi will start doing this in Hunter x Hunter. No drawings on a page, just text explaining Nen or whatever. It's something you have to
You
grow
gotta
out
get
of.
it done. You gotta
Yeah.
get it done. But the book was really good. You got any notes, Chris?
Yeah, going off the collective unconscious, I think this book is based heavily in the monomyth. I think we've just moved past the moving the denial phase. I forget exactly what it's called. I know there's a specific name. I just had it, but the denial phase.
It's kinda like-
we've met the mentor now.
It's a lot
We're
like-
getting into the strange new world.
Reminds me of the Odyssey, or
Yeah, that's
any,
what the monomyth is based in.
or
Joseph Campbell's work
any
on
other
talking about
epic.
Greek monomyths.
any other epic. Yeah, the story is clearly broken up into parts.
Yes.
And this one would have been, part one. Him getting the shield. Now we're in part two, right?
Mm.
I'd say I thought calling these Jesus types epics was a cool idea too.
Yeah.
It's a nice way of giving us a word so we don't have to keep beating around the bush.
Yeah.
I thought all the exposition kind of felt like laying down rules and regulations for the
Right.
comic
Yeah.
book.
Because
Which are
when
cool.
you establish creativity as a force, it's so endless. You have to box it in for things to not seem like you could do anything.
Yeah.
There's a point where you're like, well, why doesn't he just create his way out of it? And
Yeah.
we've given a solution to that. He's denied creativity, but as a kid, why didn't he just solve all his problems with creativity? We need a rule set.
Right.
It's the same problem with magic. You need rules to magic, otherwise Zatanna can do anything.
Right, and not just that, but the reader. That's what I thought the rules were. The rules are being given to him, but the rules are also being given to the reader.
Right.
So this is also something that I feel like as the reader now we can keep track of
Mm.
on some level. Even though there was a lot that we were given, we can go back to this issue and go, oh yeah, he mentioned this, and this is the payoff for this now. Okay, that
Right.
makes sense.
And
Have you ever watched Dogma?
I have not watched that.
There's some direct references to that for some reason.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I think it's also because it's a rip on Christianity and stuff.
Yeah. I really appreciate the idea of the video game where it's these people who aren't epics but got really close to being epics. They had these great ideas and it drove them crazy that they could never bring it to life. So it's always there's missing a person to drive it. That's the whole idea of this game is you can never come up with a protagonist.
Right. They
And
talk
so it's this lost epic. It's like a game years ahead of its time that was just never completed because he couldn't find a protagonist, and that's what the role Dan is filling.
and
more or
more
less.
accurately too, they talk about the code of the video game.
Yeah.
And they talk about how this guy coded this video game, but couldn't knew he was missing a line of code that he couldn't figure out what it was. And the line of code he's missing is the player, is the physical embodiment of a player. And so I guess since they're in the imaginary world, potentially based on mathematics,
Yeah.
like everything in the world is, he's acting as that code to this video game. So now the video game can run since he's fit that code. You're not going to be able to run a video game if you're missing some code. It's going to cause all sorts of glitches and stuff.
Right.
So yeah, that was really cool. I'm glad you picked up on that.
I
Something
imagine.
there's going to be a bunch of these too, where he
Right.
he has to be the thing that finishes this. That's his start, right? He
Yeah.
needs to finish all these things. This is his start. He's going to start going through these games, collecting the items he needs to actually finish everything else.
One of my favorite lines in this issue was when he talks about Michelangelo breaking one of his statues because he was so upset it wouldn't talk to him.
Yeah.
Just like this.
Which I'm sure is a rumor, right? That probably
Oh,
got
for sure.
created
Like,
years
why
and
is
years
this
and years
knee
ago. Yeah.
Strapped or something.
And, Michelangelo is, he really did have some, undescribable amazing feats.
Oh, he's crazy.
And, when you do something like that, all you're going to have, especially in a world where there's no internet, nothing but rumors floating around, all you're going to have is people talking about you.
Right.
And that man, if there's anybody worth talking about, it's that guy.
Yeah, art history gave me such an appreciation for that guy because you learn about the Greek statues where they have to have all these like cumbersome pillars like hold up parts of the body that should fall over, and Michelangelo just slowly over the Renaissance figured out how to make a freestanding nude, just freestanding. There's no of these like columns that put it up. It's really impressive.
And the dude was multi-talented. That's just
the painting was fantastic.
But what they state in Something Epic is he's this great, but what he could never do is bring any of it to life.
Yes.
So it's interesting, man. They're really tackling some creative stuff. And I gotta stress the usage of the medium and how amazing it is. There isn't a single wasted gutter in the comic book. Like in Godzilla, there's plenty of gutters, nothing in them. But in Something Epic, there's everything. Even in between the spaces of the panels, there's something. Something to be... There's a reason for every line.
Yeah.
Basically. Which is incredible. I don't... you gotta have a lot of time on your hands to do that. And he's doing it all himself. We got the first intro of the enemy in this book, too.
Yeah, it's this mysterious he figure.
Yeah. And
something chasing him.
My favorite line in this was, "You're like a fish on the sand who thinks it's a bird." That was creepy. But he's trying to describe our main character who's like trying to like not use his imagination and live like a normal person.
Yeah.
Anyway, you got anything to add on that?
I don't think so. Besides, book is incredible.
Yeah.
One man doing it. Writing is one of the strongest writer-artists I've ever seen. I
Yeah.
love that he used the Image Founders characters, just
Yeah.
homaging these writer-artists that probably
Yeah.
inspired him to go down this path.
Eric Larson, Todd McFarlane, who did
Mark
Shadowhawk.
Silvestri, Jim Valentino.
Valentino,
Because Mark Silvestri's the Cyberhawk character.
So serious, big guys who came before him who set themselves up as both writers and artists as well.
Yeah. Really paving the way for American comics to start imitating the sole focus of manga.
Yeah. And he's doing all the covers too.
Yeah, all of them. There's like 4 variants,
4
movie
covers.
homages, sketch covers.
Every
They're all
issue.
different. They're all great.
There's no way
It's crazy.
he's making that much money off of this either. Like an independent comic creator writing their own stuff.
Oh yeah.
You don't even see the payment until the damn thing's over and they give you your royalties and stuff.
No, and this isn't a Skybound book, so he's eating some of these costs. If this book doesn't sell, he's eating that cost.
Please buy Something Epic.
Yeah.
It's one of the best books on the. It's the best. It's next to Local Man, regardless of the best indie book on the wall. I think.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this guy is pouring his heart and soul into this damn thing. If you're not
And
buying
he's-
this book,
Honestly, if you've ever colored in a coloring page, this book has something for you because it's all about creativity, which is such a primal force of humans.
Yeah.
You know.
I could really see once this thing is done and over with and collected, that if somebody people
This should win an Eisner. Like we talk about the Eisners all the time. Like what's getting nominated? What's getting nominated for what? Sometimes it's random. This book needs to be thrown a bone.
It's talking about such important things that don't get talked about in the medium because the medium is used as mostly an advertising outlet primarily.
At least now, yeah.
And so this book is not talking about any portion of that part of our industry. It's talking about the art and what comes first and how we get there and what creates emotion between the things that we connect to the pages we're reading and the words we're reading and stuff. But it's really powerful stuff.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. There's not much me and Chris can really tell you other than you're missing out if you ain't reading this. You might even be stupid if you ain't reading this. Moving along.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next week. Stay tuned. There should be a August 2003 posting of the Weekly Shonen Jump popping up sometime in the next week or 2. Stay watching, subscribe, like, and do all that good stuff. Thanks for being here.
Have a good one.